Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. My name is Lee Hayward, and in today's episode, we're going to dive into the top 3 things that you need to focus on in order to achieve a lasting fitness and fat loss transformation. And this goes much bigger than just the tactics, the different diets and macros and sets and reps and workouts and all that. It focuses on the bigger picture perspective and what you need to focus on. The principles, not just the methods. And this is where a lot of people get confused in their fitness and fat loss journey, is because they're diving into the methods and they're getting tangled up in the weeds. Like, hey, should I go low carb? Should I go keto? Should I do this? Should I go fasting? Should I do high reps? Should I do low reps? Should I do a high intensity program or a high volume program? Should I do fasted cardio or not do fasted cardio? Like all these little things. I mean, you can make the methods and the tactics work as long as you have the bigger picture principles in place. And that's what we're going to cover in today's episode, is really looking at the bigger picture perspective and the principles behind fitness and fat loss and how you can implement this for yourself. And this was taken from a masterclass that I did last week, where we laid out a step-by-step action plan on how to achieve a lean body recomposition. Now, I know some of you probably attended that masterclass, but what I'm doing now in this podcast is I'm editing down that masterclass and condensing it to the core 3 principles that you need to focus on in order to achieve success with your fitness and fat loss goals. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast with Lee Hayward and Jeff Samataro. Since 1997, Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding has been online helping guys to build muscle, lose fat, and become the best version of themselves. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with real-world practical fitness and nutrition advice to look your best, improve your health, and feel confident in your own skin so you can live life to the fullest without having your body holding you back from doing the things you want to do. So if you're ready to get started, let's jump into the show.
This time of year is when people do a lot of damage, right? And it's something that it's totally avoidable if you follow the principles that we're going to be outlining in tonight's workshop. So that's the whole purpose of this masterclass, is to really arm you with practical tools, strategies, and the right mindset that you can approach the holiday season with, so that you avoid the holiday weight gain and not only just minimize the damage and avoid gaining weight, but actually start losing body fat, building muscle, and working towards your fitness goals, so that by the time the new year rolls around, by the time we hit January 2025, you're not behind, you're already ahead of the curve, and you have that momentum behind you moving forward. And that's what we need to capitalize on, is momentum. Momentum is very powerful because you can use momentum to propel you forward, or you can use momentum to hold you back. And I'm willing to bet that most of you probably know people who have used momentum to hold them back. Like, oh, I'll start again on Monday, or I'll start again later. Now is not the right time. But something's better than nothing. And that's one of the key things that I really want you to wrap your head around, is something is better than nothing. This whole approach when it comes to losing body fat, building muscle, and achieving your health and fitness goals, it doesn't have to be this all or nothing, either on or off. It can be a good enough and good enough consistently. Something's better than nothing. And that's what we're really going to dive into, some practical action steps that you can implement over the holiday season. And in this masterclass, I'm going to share how my Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching students have achieved a lean body recomposition. And that's what we're after here. I want to differentiate. We're not just after weight loss or fat loss. We want to lose that stubborn body fat and build lean muscle. And building muscle is one of the most important parts of your whole health and fitness equation, because especially as you're getting older, it's not so much having excess body fat that's going to be a problem. No, don't get me wrong, that is a problem, but lack of muscle is actually a bigger problem. Because when you don't have enough muscle on your frame, that hinders your mobility, that reduces your quality of life, that reduces your movement, and it also makes it harder to burn body fat. Because the less lean muscle you have on your frame, the slower your metabolic rate, and the easier it is to accumulate excess body fat. So we want to really prioritize the muscle side of things, building muscle and burning body fat. That is key. And we have a 3-phase system that's going to I'm going to outline for you to show you exactly how you can do that. I just want to share some of the guys that have actually done this. People like Jeff Samatero. I mean, he went from skinny fat to lean and muscular by following this system. And he says, this is the best shape that I've ever been in, the best I felt in my life. And he says, I have to thank Lee for all his help. He's a fantastic coach and an inspiration. And I know those of you who are regulars to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel and the podcast, you've probably seen Jeff joining me multiple times for videos and podcast episodes. And he's a good friend. I mean, started off as a coaching student, but over the last several years, we've become really good friends. And he actually helps out behind the scenes with a lot of things. But he is a living example of this. I mean, this has really become his new lifestyle. Other examples, we have Steve Patterson, who lost over 100 pounds of body fat in 1 year. And he said, started off weighing 260 pounds. Now, 1 year later, without starving myself or feeling like I was forced to do it, I'm 159 pounds and don't think I've ever felt better. And I'm easily able to do things now that I could not have done before. So this is an example of what's possible. Another one of my coaching students, Mike Brown. For those of you who've been following the podcast, you've probably seen Mike featured on some of our episodes. I've got a lot of respect for Mike because he only started working out at age 56. And now at age 61, he's in the best shape of his life. And he's gotten ripped, jacked, and muscular. And the thing is, this is a pure example of a body recomposition. Because if you look at the pictures on the screen right here, obviously he's lost a lot of body fat, built a lot of muscle, but the body weight is very similar. There's only a 5-pound difference between those photos. When you put that in perspective, 5 pounds, if somebody said, hey, I lost 5 pounds on the scale, you probably say, oh, big deal, right? 5 pounds, whoop-de-doo, like that's nothing. But when you see it like this, the body recomposition where he lost body fat and replaced that fat mass with lean mass, that really goes to show the true body recomposition. We also have Craig Warr, lost 47 pounds and achieved a body recomposition. Says, I spent years yo-yo dieting, couldn't figure out what it took to get lean and fit and sustain it. Said Lee's system was the answer. You'll hear him say, let go of the all or nothing trap and just be good enough, but good enough consistently. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that in tonight's masterclass. And we also have Paul Miller, another one of our success stories and someone who's been featured on our podcast several times as well. Paul lost 100 pounds after having a heart attack. And he only started exercising at age 62. All right, so I mean, he hit rock bottom, had his brush with death at 62, was rushed into the ER, and the doctors, thankfully, they revived him. But the ER doctor grabbed him by the wrist, looked him in the eye, and said, you've been given a gift. The universe has given you a second chance at life. What are you going to do with it? And he said those words just burned right to his core, and that's when he vowed to make a change. No more just ignoring his health and fitness and seeking the fast food, the greasy comfort food, and all that kind of stuff. He said that's it. He was going to make a change. And he says, if I can make the change, I'm convinced anyone can without needing a near-death experience to shock you towards that change. He says, the health I feel now has affected my entire world, mind, body, and soul. Like a born-again fitness enthusiast here, right? That's what Paul is, literally. And now at the age of 70, he's in the best shape of his life. So he's been doing this for the past 8 years and getting better with age. Like a fine wine, better with age. So as I mentioned earlier, we're approaching the danger zone where most guys just give up and get fatter between now and the new year. Actually, that's a typo, between now and the new. Between now and the new year. But that's not going to happen with you because I'm going to show you exactly how to get through the holiday season and kick off the new year on the right track. So you can finally lose that stubborn body fat, build lean muscle, and feel comfortable in your own skin. And we want to avoid this. This is what most people are going to do. I'll start my diet in a month or in the new year, right? A little more than a month away, but you get the idea. I'll start it, January 2025. That's when I'm going to start. But the problem is if you follow that approach and you let the negative momentum build, you'll be having some excess body fat 1 month later. So it's not like you could just put your diet and exercise on pause and your body stays the same. I mean, it'd be great if we could do that. Like just hit pause, say, I'm just going to eat whatever the hell I want. I'm going to skip the gym and all that stuff. And everything's just going to stay the same. It doesn't. You're either moving forward or you're falling behind. And I want you to adopt that mindset. You're either progressing or regressing. There's no such thing as maintenance. Like we like to say we're maintaining, but a true maintenance program is really just slow progress. Right? You're either moving forward or you're falling behind. And if you're not actively moving forward towards your fitness and fat loss goals, then you're slowly falling behind, or in some cases, rapidly falling behind, as in poor old Homer here is on the screen. If you've tried and failed to achieve a lasting fitness and fat loss transformation up until now, then here's the problem. You're stuck in the old model and you don't know about the 3 easy to implement secrets of the new sustainable model. And I want to begin by comparing the two. I like to refer to this as crash dieters versus lifestyle builders. And this is the 2 approaches we see in fitness. Now, the actual methods may vary, like the crash dieting methods may vary. Like some people will go on intermittent fasting. Some people might go low carb or keto or carnivore, or even the other extreme. I go vegan, or some sort of restricting diet where you're going, to the extremes with calorie restriction in some way, shape, or form, versus the lifestyle builder. We're going to zoom out, do some high level perspective here, and then we're going to deep dive into some actionable steps that you can take. This is the typical process of a crash diet. Monday morning rolls around and you decide to start a diet. I don't know why it is, but diets always start on Monday for some reason. But this is the diet cycle. You decide to start a diet, and then after a few days, few weeks, maybe even a few months, however long you can muster up willpower to stick to that diet, eventually you're going to start to feel the restriction. Once that restriction starts to set in, you're going to start to feel deprived, and you're going to be tempted by foods that are not so good for you, foods that are not on your quote unquote diet. And those cravings are going to start to build. Before you know it, eventually, sooner or later, I don't care how tough you are, how much willpower you have, everyone has their threshold of how much torture they can take before they finally give in. In a moment of weakness, they're going to give into those cravings, have a binge or whatever it is. And then once that happens, then you're going to start to feel guilty. You're going to beat yourself up emotionally. It's going to be like, oh, I knew I couldn't do this. I was on a roll, doing so well with it, but I couldn't do it. I gave in. I had a binge, cheated on my diet, and you're just going to beat yourself up emotionally. And then what happens when you get into that whole low self-esteem, getting down on yourself phase? You go and you eat some more because you want some comfort food to make you feel good in the moment. So it just spirals out of control. And this is the cycle. And you could stay stuck in that whole guilt trap for weeks or months or however long until you finally muster up the motivation to then start another diet, and then you go through the process again. Now, in this process, like in the early phases of the restriction, and you may actually lose some weight. Like this is quite common. A lot of people will actually go on a diet, like insert diet of choice, keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting, vegan, vegetarian, whatever diet of choice it is. If you follow it and you're in a calorie deficit and you have the willpower to stick it out, yes, you will lose some weight. But it's how long can you feel deprived and deal with those cravings and all that? Like how long can you go through that cycle before you finally give in? Some people manage to do it for several weeks. Some people manage to do it for several months. But virtually everybody at some level gives in. And that's the trick. That's the thing that we're going to show you, how you can ease the pressure of dieting, right? That's the key here. We want to ease that pressure. Crash dieters, they're very often impatient and inconsistent in their actions, and they end up hopping from one diet to the next, almost like chasing the red shiny ball. It's like, oh, I'm going to try this one, and I'm going to try that one. And then you're just jumping from one diet plan to the next, or one workout to the next, hoping that something's going to work. They very often leave things until the last minute before making a change. This is a big one. I see a lot. People reach out to me and say, hey, I've got a vacation coming up in 2 weeks. Like, how do I drop 20 pounds in 2 weeks? Or high school reunion coming up in a month. How do I lose 30 pounds in 30 days? Or weddings coming up or something like that. Bottom line, you can't make a massive change. In fact, it's ironic. I had someone email me the other day and said, how much weight can I lose in a week? I don't know what's coming up next week, but I said, not much. Like, you're not going to make much of a change in a week. You can't leave it to the last minute. Just the same as you can't gain weight in a week. I mean, like, you can gain a few pounds, but like, nobody goes from skinny to obese in a week, and vice versa. Nobody goes from obese to skinny in a week, right? This is a process, right? You can't leave things to the last minute. Crash dieters, very often they cut out entire food groups hoping for that quick fix weight loss. Prime example, this is the common one we hear today, is like cutting out carbs or cutting out a plant-based food entirely. Like keto and carnivore are kind of like the rage in a lot of fitness circles these days. And sure, if you go on a massive calorie deficit and cut out all your carbohydrates, you may lose weight short term, but can you see this as a lifestyle? Can you see yourself going the rest of your life without eating another carbohydrate? Probably not. And the key thing you want to look at when you're looking at any eating plan or diet plan, is this something that you can do for the rest of your life? Or is this just some short-term suffer it out in the moment type of approach? Because if it's a short-term suffer it out, the results are going to be short-term. But if this is a lifestyle approach where you're making better choices most of the time, then it can be sustainable. That's what we're going to show you how to do here in this masterclass. Crash dieters, they very often force themselves to follow a cookie cutter plan that does not suit their lifestyle, and then they wonder why it's unsustainable. I mean, this right here is the mindset, the internal workings going on in the brain of a crash dieter. And how many of you can actually relate to that? Like, you're just overwhelmed with so much information coming at you, whether it's from the social media, whether it's from YouTube videos or magazines, or talking to people at work, or hearing people at the gym, and you're hearing all these different things. You know, should I go low carb? Should I do this? Should I track my macros? Should I go vegan? Should I go carnivore? Should I take these, what are the medications they're using now? The Ozempic and Mounjaro and Wegovy and all these semi-glutide medications that curb your appetite by making you feel stomach sick when you eat. I mean, like, that's not a sustainable way to live. I mean, do you want to feel sick every time you eat, and that's your solution to trying to restrict your calories? Let's compare that to lifestyle builders. This is what we want to achieve. Lifestyle builders build their fitness and their nutrition plan around their lifestyle instead of the other way around. They have total confidence in the program they're following, and they actually enjoy the process. And they know how to moderate their nutrition and their exercise routine so that nothing is off limits. They can eat, drink, and train how they want 24/7, 365 days per year, and still make progress. And I'm going to show you literally how you can do that, especially as we move into the holiday season. And this can be a secret weapon that you can use in your arsenal over the next several weeks. Once you make this transition, you can expect to have more freedom and flexibility in your nutrition and your training. Get to have incredible experiences with friends and family instead of being that guy who's always on a diet. And no more low confidence or self-esteem issues and constantly doubting yourself, wondering if you're doing the right thing. You'll have a proven science-based system that does the heavy lifting for you. But please, don't just take my word for it. All right? I've shared this with several of my coaching students, and here are some of their results. Steve Gilbert, this is actually an old high school mate of mine that I went to school with. He lost over 100 pounds and has kept the weight off for over 2 years while enjoying the process. We got Jacob from Thailand, lost 42 pounds and got visible abdominal definition. We got Jeff from Newfoundland. He lost over 100 pounds while enjoying the process and not feeling like he's suffering on an extreme cutting diet. Kevin from Pennsylvania, 53-year-old grandfather and business owner, lost 40 pounds of body fat and has kept it off for over 5 years. We have Trevor from England, lost 74 pounds and got visible abdominal definition at age 58. We've got Richard from Iowa. He lost over 150 pounds at age 62, and he's stronger, fitter, and more mobile now than he's been in years. And in fact, Richard was on our most recent podcast episode, so you probably heard Richard sharing some of his stories. But again, a great example of what's possible, even for people who were extremely overweight at one point. The principles that we're going to share in this workshop still apply. We have Alejandro from Austria, achieved a body recomposition, going from skinny fat to ripped and muscular. We have Bill from Missouri, lost 116 pounds, lowered his blood pressure, and came off all medications. Simon from the UK lost belly fat, built muscle, and improved his body composition. We got Jason Golden, 46 years old, from Illinois, lost stubborn belly fat while building lean muscle in the process. Stephen Colby from Texas lost 30 pounds while building muscle. And again, you can see the definition there. Craig from Newfoundland, he achieved a full-on body recomposition and actually competed at a local bodybuilding competition and won his weight class. We have Kevin from Arizona, gained 2 inches of muscle on his chest, 2 inches on his upper arms while losing belly fat at the same time. And that's really cool. I love to see that, where people are getting bigger in the right places and then getting smaller in the right places. I mean, you can see that in these pictures here. Chest is fuller, arms are fuller, and belly is slimmer, right? That's what we want. And for those of you who think you're too old to be at this, think again. Amo from Spain lost 7 inches off his belly while gaining 4 inches to his chest and got visible abdominal definition at 78 years old. Another one of our senior coaching students, 73-year-old Norman from North Dakota, lost belly fat and gained lean muscle in the process. So you're probably wondering, how did they do it? I mean, their results are great. I mean, it's inspiring and great to see, but how did they do it? That's the kicker that everyone wants to know. And they did it by following the Muscle After 40 blueprint. And this is a system to create a sustainable fitness and fat loss transformation. And I'm going to break down the 3-phase system that we use within the Muscle After 40 blueprint to achieve those results. So phase 1 is what we refer to as the metabolic reboot. And this is where we really want to focus on laying a solid foundation, losing weight, building strength, and increasing your energy. And the goal of this phase is we kind of take a reverse psychology approach to fat loss and dieting. Because a lot of people, they think, I want to lose weight in order to get healthy, whereas we want to focus on getting healthy in order to lose weight. So we take a different approach. And instead of trying to starve yourself with extreme low-calorie cutting diets that leave you feeling hungry and irritable and deplete your hormone levels, we want to focus on nourishing the body on the cellular level. So what I like to focus on here is looking at your whole nutrition program as a whole and saying, what do we need to add in order to make this complete? Like, what do we need to add to nourish your body on the cellular level? So let's increase your protein intake. Let's increase meal frequency. Let's make sure we're getting adequate vegetables and healthy fats and good complex carbohydrates and nourishing your body so that you actually build your metabolism. We want to increase your metabolism and not suppress it. And one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is when it comes to your metabolism, it's not static. When you eat more high quality food, especially when you eat more protein, it actually has a thermogenic effect and it increases your metabolism. Whereas when you go on these low calorie cutting diets, especially if you're on a low protein diet, it actually suppresses your metabolism and increases your risk of losing muscle. So we don't want to lose muscle. We want to build muscle, right? We want to increase your strength and energy and actually achieve that metabolic reboot. And that's going to set you up nicely then for the next phase of the program, which is our fat loss accelerator. And this is where we can really dial things up a notch and incorporate some more advanced nutrition strategies used by top-level bodybuilders and fitness models to burn off that stubborn body fat and carve out visible abdominal definition. Once we have a foundation laid, then we can really dial in the fat loss. Whereas most people, they skip the foundation and they just jump right to the fat loss. And if you don't have a solid foundation to work with and some good habits, some good core underlying habits to work with, then the things that we cover in the fat loss accelerator, it's kind of like it goes into those crash diet tendencies again, where you fall off the rails and then go back to your old habits again. We want to lay the solid foundation with phase 1, and that is the base. And then when we're ready, we'll step it up with the fat loss accelerator. And that'll set you up nicely then for the next phase of our program, which is the actual lean gain body recomp. So once you've gotten yourself to a body fat level that you're comfortable with, visible abdominal definition or flat stomach or whatever that happens to be for you, then we can focus on keeping your fat low while adding muscle to your frame, filling out your frame with lean mass. And this is a fun phase because this is where the fruits of your labor are really going to start to show. And how we go about this is, instead of going through the old school bulking approach, we just focus on still eating good quality food, like all the stuff that we covered in the metabolic reboot and the fat loss accelerator. We're still going to follow those core principles, but we're just going to bump up the portions slightly so that you're no longer in a calorie deficit, but you're at calorie maintenance or maybe even a slight surplus, so that you can then utilize that extra food, that extra nourishment to fill out your frame with lean muscle while still keeping your body fat low. And this is where you're really going to start to get that lean, muscular, athletic looking physique. And not only that, it's great from a sports performance point of view. So increasing strength, increasing energy, right? But it's a fine line there. Because again, most people has this all or nothing approach. Either I'm on this crazy low calorie starvation cutting diet, or I'm eating whatever the hell I want. But to have this phase where you're actually fueling and nourishing your body, and you're not in a deficit, but you're fueling it with good quality foods, this is a fun phase, because that's where you're really going to see your physique transform. And this 3-phase system, it was a game changer for me, right? Like I literally used this myself to achieve a body recomposition. How I came about this and the whole muscle after 40 blueprint was as I was becoming a father in late 30s, approaching my 40s. That whole phase was a very challenging time for me, and I stopped competing in bodybuilding competitions. And for those of you who are familiar with my story, I mean, I was a competitive bodybuilder for several years, from 1995 right up until 2011. I was competing on the local and regional level in bodybuilding. During that time, I went through some big ups and downs with my fitness journey. And those of you who have been following me for a while, you've probably seen some of these pictures posted online and some videos and stuff. And I strategically posted things to show the highlight reel. And that's one of the sneaky, dirty little secrets of bodybuilding and social media and fitness influencers is they like to show the highlight reel, right? They show when they're at their best, but they don't show when things are not going their way. And just to give you an example here, I used to go through extreme yo-yo dieting even when I was a competitive bodybuilder, right? Because the way it was for me is I could muster up the motivation and the willpower to stick to an extreme cutting diet for months on end leading up to a competition, because that was my goal. I'd say, okay, I'm going to follow this boiled chicken and broccoli cutting diet. I'm going to do 2 hours of cardio a day, 6 days a week in the gym, and kind of burn the candle at both ends and get in competition shape like you see here. But the problem with that is as soon as that contest was over, the placings were announced and the dust had settled, then I would go back to my old eating habits and regain the weight back again. And you can see an example of that right here. Right after a competition, I'd balloon up, gain the weight, and then I'd muster up motivation for next year's competition and I'd diet down again. After that competition, I'd balloon back up again. And it was just up and down, up and down, up and down. Every single year I ballooned up and down with every competition I did. And I did that for 15 years as a competitive bodybuilder. And looking back at it now, it's pretty stupid. I mean, if I could go back and change some things, that's one of the things I would have changed. I wouldn't have went through that whole, bulking, cutting up and down phase. I use the term bulking loosely because it really wasn't bulking. It was getting fat. It was because I wasn't dieting. So it was a low carb, extreme cutting diet or no diet at all. I justified it by calling it bulking to kind of save face, because as people seen me getting bigger, i.e. getting fatter, I had to try and save face and say, well, I'm bulking up, right? Trying to gain more muscle for next year's competition. And the ironic thing was, even though my weight would fluctuate up and down, sometimes 40 to 50 pounds up and down between off season and pre-contest, I didn't actually gain any muscle, because by the time I gained all that weight and then dieted down again, I was always back around the same weight. When you gain weight, sure, you probably gain some lean mass along with it. But then when I had to go through that extreme cutting to lose that extra body fat, I'd end up sacrificing and losing the lean muscle that I gained in the off season. So I was always staying around the same contest weights. And for years I had plateaued and I wasn't getting bigger with each competition. I was just ballooning up and then letting the air out of the balloon, ballooning up and then letting the air out of the balloon. And again, I did that over and over again. To put it in perspective, I just want to share this right here. Right, this was one of my dramatic before and after transformations for leading up to a bodybuilding competition. And these pictures were taken exactly 1 year apart. But here is the truth. This is my real before and after transformation. I had dieted down and gotten ripped for competition and did quite well, but then I let myself go because I couldn't stop binge eating after the competition. So this was what actually happened. This is the true before and after. I was ripped, and a year later, I didn't look like a bodybuilder at all. I mean, it was just like fat. Like, is this the same guy? Yes, it is. It's 1 year apart. And that's the harsh reality. And that's what we're trying to avoid having happen. These extreme up and down, all or nothing approaches, and focusing on being good enough and good enough consistently. And once you get this, like looking back at it, I'm like, why the hell did I ever let myself go through these extreme ups and downs? Like knowing what I know now and following the approach that I'm going to be sharing with you, I've been able to keep my body weight stable for going on 8 years now. When I was competing in bodybuilding, it never happened that way. I was always up and down every year, but now I've been able to keep my weight stable. Granted, it's not as lean as the bodybuilding competition picture, but it's lean enough that I feel comfortable in my own skin and I don't have to feel like I'm on an extreme cutting diet. And that's such a liberating feeling to be able to maintain a healthy body weight, to feel comfortable in my own skin and not feel like I'm on a diet. And again, that's what I'm going to share with you here today. So I needed to get my shite together and figure out how to live a healthy lifestyle that didn't have me going through those extreme ups and downs of competitive bodybuilding and yo-yo dieting. How to have a healthy relationship with food so I could enjoy meals and not feel hungry and still achieve my fat loss goals. And how to work out less and build a lean muscular body without being a slave to 2-hour workouts 6 days per week and doing endless cardio on top of that. Since 2018, I've been on a mission to figure this out once and for all. And I've personally invested over $75,000 of my own money in self-education, studying, and mentoring with some of the sharpest minds in the health and fitness industry to put this together. See, creating lasting change requires a deep understanding in the areas of deep health, change psychology, human behavior patterns, lifestyle habits, along with how to optimize your hormonal health, i.e. increasing testosterone growth hormone and managing insulin. And that's what we're going to cover now in today's workshop. Secret number 1, how to reprogram your psychology to make lasting change inevitable without conscious effort. Secret number 2, how you can eat what you want within reason any day of the week and still achieve your goals. And number 3, how to work out less and have your workouts fit around your schedule so you can build the lean body you want without feeling like a slave to the gym. Secret number 1, how to reprogram your psychology to make lasting change inevitable without conscious effort. Right now, you're experiencing an identity crisis. Human beings always act, feel, and perform in accordance to what they imagine to be true about themselves and their environment. And we're entering in a unique environment now. And if you look on the screen there, you see I got the picture of Eddie Murphy when he was in the Nutty Professor and the Clumps. I love that movie. And if you've seen that movie, you could probably relate to that because that's probably what Thanksgiving is going to be for a lot of folks. Tomorrow, you're probably going to be sitting around a table with a family like this. There's going to be oodles and oodles of food and probably a lot of friends and family members and people who are like not very pro health and fitness and low calorie cutting diets or anything like that. They're just going to be shoveling food into your face. You know, I know it's a movie and it was a comedy and everything else, but it's actually pretty damn accurate. And I can certainly relate to having my friends and family pushing food on me like this. So this is probably what's going to happen. And you're going to be experiencing that identity crisis, as I mentioned here. Who you hang out with and who you believe you are on the internal level is going to dictate your day-to-day reality. And if you've studied personal development, you're probably familiar with Jim Rohn. He's an old school personal development guru. And he had a saying that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if you look at like friends and family and coworkers and neighbors or whoever, like people you spend the most time with, chances are you're the average of those 5 people. So like if most of your friends and family are overweight, there's a good likelihood that you're probably overweight. Vice versa, if your friends and family are lean, fit, and trim, and you hang out with people who are very active, maybe like athletes or things like that, you're probably going to be very similar to those people as well. Like-minded people hang around like people. For example, like athletes hang around other athletes. Bodybuilders hang around other bodybuilders. Musicians hang around other musicians. Computer nerds hang around other computer nerds. Like we hang around people like us. And this not only applies to hobbies and other things, but it applies to the physical as well. Like very often you will see overweight people have overweight friends and family. It's just like people say, well, obesity runs in the family. Not necessarily, but the habits and the lifestyle that lead to obesity run in the family. So that's what we really need to change, is we need to kind of elaborate and create a new identity for ourselves. So first one that you can do is start to surround yourself with people who are the type of people you want to become. One way that you can do this is join the gym, or try to get around people who have similar goals and similar interests as you do. Indirectly, we're kind of doing that right now, because nowadays with the internet and social media and videos and podcasts and all these forms of communication medium, it's not just spending time with people in person that has an impact on your health and fitness and your identity, but it's who do you spend time with virtually can have a huge impact. So the podcasts that you listen to, the videos that you watch, even this workshop, this masterclass that we're doing right now, this is spending virtual time together. So this is having an impact. Just by spending time and attending this workshop right now, this is having an impact in your identity. Subconsciously, on a small level, it's starting to get the gears grinding and have things happening. So we're putting things into motion just by being here and sharing this. Just think, if you spend time with people on a more consistent basis, the people you want to become, that's going to have a massive impact. And this can be a part of the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So that's kind of like an unfair advantage we have these days. It's not just people you spend time with in person and physical time, but it can be virtual time as well. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, has a quote. He says, if you want to build habits that last, join a group where the desired behavior is the normal behavior. And if you haven't read that book, Atomic Habits, I would highly recommend it. Good book recommendation. I might even have a copy of it here on the shelf just to show you the one I'm talking about. Yes, I do. Yep. This one, Atomic Habits by James Clear. I like that book because it parallels nicely with a lot of the stuff that we're covering here. And it also has a lot of diet and exercise examples in that book. So if you're looking for a book recommendation, highly recommend it. And the first step to creating a new identity is to see your true potential. All right, this is a big one. If you think you have bad potential, maybe you've said things like, I've got bad genetics, like everyone in my family's overweight and out of shape. I've always been overweight and out of shape. I've got bad potential, or I've got bad genetics, or I've got a slow metabolism, or I'm not very athletic. I'm not very coordinated. I'm insert whatever. If that's the underlying thought in your mind, what's going to happen? You're going to take very little action. And if you take very little action, you're going to get rubbish results. And if you get rubbish results from your little action, that's going to reinforce your belief that you have bad potential. So let's assume someone's starting a fitness program and they're going into it thinking that got a slow metabolism, bad genetics. I've tried dieting in the past and it just never works. Poor me, I suck. Right? So if you visualize that, what's going to happen? You're going to take that attitude in towards your action. And if you believe you have bad potential, are you really going to give it 100% effort? Or are you going to be like, what's the point? I've tried and failed so many times before. I'll go through the motions, but I'm not really going to put 100% effort. And then if you just go through the motions with subpar effort, you're going to get those rubbish results, and reinforces the belief that you have bad potential, and it just becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy right there. But just imagine we reverse that for a moment. What if we said, what? I have good potential. It might not be great, but I think I can do this. And you've seen some of the success stories that I featured earlier in the workshop here now. I've seen guys who, average folks, like the reason why I share all those success stories of my past coaching students is not just to celebrate and highlight their achievements and their body recomposition, but to show you like they're real people. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the before pictures, there's nothing special about these guys. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, but I'm just saying it as an honest way and saying they're not genetically gifted athletes. Like if you see some of their before pictures, you wouldn't say, oh, look how lucky they are. Wow. They're so genetically gifted. Like you see someone who's lost 100 pounds, right? Okay. Wow. Look at him, 100 pounds overweight. Wow. Isn't he lucky? No. You'd say, well, if he can do it, maybe I can do it. Like if he can make this work, I probably have potential to make this work as well. So that's why I'm sharing those success stories. And if you think you have good potential, even if it's just a small inkling of positivity there, you know what? There's an ounce of hope that I have good potential. You're going to take some positive action. Once you take some positive action, you're going to start to get some good results. Now, again, it's probably going to be small results, but they're going to be positive results. And then this is going to reinforce your belief that you have good potential. And then once you start to get a little bit of reassurance there, you're going to take better action. Better action leads to better results. Better results helps to reinforce the belief that you have good potential and you can do this. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy here. This becomes an upward spiral. And this is why you'll see people, once they start their fitness journey and they start building that momentum, it starts to snowball and they build even faster momentum. And then you see the fit get fitter, right? The rich get richer. People who start to have some success start to get even more success because it builds that positive momentum. They start taking better action, they start getting better results, and it reinforces the belief that they can do this. And it just starts to snowball and compound over time. And vice versa, it also works the opposite, right? Like I mentioned before, if you think you have bad potential, you take crappy action, get crappy results, reinforces the belief that, oh, I can't do this, I suck. And that's why very often you see people struggle with their weight and with dieting over and over again. It's not that they can't do it, it's the internal belief. And that prevents them from taking the action and getting the help they need. They just wallow in their own self-pity. This whole process, I have to give you a warning because it's not just some one and done. It's not like, I wish it was as simple as just, hey, you have good potential, go get them, Tiger, right? And this is all one and done. It doesn't work that way. The truth is, this masterclass is designed to give you the belief, install that belief that you can succeed, and show you examples of people like you who have succeeded. But in and of itself, it's not sustainable. It's fueled by willpower. The problem with that is willpower is finite. You're going to run out of it eventually. Like, you can muster up the willpower to start a diet, and maybe you stick with it for a few weeks or a few months or however long it is. But those cravings, that temptation, all that stuff is building in the background. Especially now as the holiday season comes around, it's building even more. And then you got the family pressure pushing on you to say, hey, it's the holidays, you know, you only live once, come on, right? Thanksgiving's tomorrow, enjoy, indulge. And you know, there's a fine line here, right? Don't get me wrong, there's a way to enjoy it, and I'm going to share that with you, but you have to look at the bigger picture. We need to have systems and routines and habits in place, not just relying on grit and willpower and trying to suffer it out, because that never lasts. So how do you lose fat and get in shape without using willpower? That's the $1 million question, right? That's what everybody wants to know. Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever done this, maybe like on a break at work, or maybe you're in a doctor's office in the waiting room or wherever you happen to be, and you pull out your phone, and then the next thing you know, you're 10 or 15 minutes deep into social media before you're like, what the hell? Oh my God, I'm going to be late for work because I just got caught up following these stupid posts or comments or this YouTube short video or TikTok reels or whatever the hell you're watching. Like, you just pick up your phone because the phone dings. Next thing you know, you're 10, 15 minutes deep into social media and you're like, what the hell just happened? Right? Has that ever happened to you? I mean, hey, it's happened to me. Right? Right? Guilty as charged. What about driving your car? Like, when you get in your car, do you have to consciously think about driving it, or does it just happen on autopilot? When you sit in the car, do you say, okay, where do I put the key? Right, hands 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. Okay, where's the gas pedal? Where's the brake? Okay, where's the gear shifter? Okay, how much pressure do I apply to the gas? And where's the indicator lights to? No, you just get in the car and you drive. You're singing along to the radio, or you're probably chatting to the person next to you, or whatever. Hopefully you're not texting on your phone, even though I know some people probably are. But it's just like you're driving on autopilot, and then the next thing you know, you show up to your destination, and it's like, how the hell did I get here? I sat in the car, and it just happened. Like, it was totally on autopilot. What about watching television? Have you ever flicked on Netflix and said, I'm just going to watch one episode, and then next thing you know, one rolls into the next episode, and then the next episode, and before you know it, you just spent the evening binge watching. Several hours goes by, and you're like, oh my God, look at the time. I got to get to bed because, I got to get up in the morning. What the hell just happened? Why do these things happen? They happen because of the habit creation process. Now, we're doing this subconsciously for everyday things. Again, your phone dings, you automatically, without even thinking about it, you pick it up. You turn on Netflix, next thing you know, you're caught up into a series of shows, and it's just autopilot. You get in your car, you just start driving, and you don't need to consciously think about it. Like, we have these habits built into our day-to-day life. How about we start creating some habits for good? So I'm going to break down this habit creation process for you right here. The first step is we have to have a trigger. So something's going to trigger the habit, trigger the action, if you will. And I'll give you an example. If your phone dings, what are you going to do? Right? The phone dings, that's the trigger. The action, you're going to pick it up. You're going to see what it is. What is the notification? Who liked my post? Who sent me a message? Who whatever. And by checking that, seeing who liked your post or who sent you a message or who sent you some stupid cat video or whatever it is, you're probably going to get a little rush of dopamine or something, or a giggle or a chuckle. That's going to be your reward, and that's going to reinforce the feedback. So then the next time your phone dings, the trigger, what are you going to do? You're going to pick it up. That's the action. You're going to check whatever the notification was, and then you're going to get a little giggle or a chuckle or a smile from whatever popped up on your phone or social media feed. And that just reinforces this whole habit creation loop. This is happening subconsciously. Again, when it comes to Netflix, right? You're going to binge watch television. What's the trigger? You just plop your ass on the couch and flick on the remote. Like, there, that's it. Once the ass is in the couch and the hand is turned on the remote, the actions just happen automatically, because Netflix is going to start playing your favorite show. And then before you know it, they're going to play the next show, and they always leave you with a cliffhanger in there. And that gives you the desire that, hey, I want to see what happens in the next episode. And you let it roll through to the next episode so you can see what happens. That gives you your little dopamine reward system. And it just reinforces this whole thing, because, hey, whenever I sit down on the sofa and turn on the remote and watch Netflix or whatever streaming service it is, you're going to get caught up into a whole binge watching episode. And you just know that's going to happen. That's the habit creation that's built in automatically by default. Now, granted, technology and the companies, the social media companies and the streaming service companies, they know this happens, and they've done the best to manufacture it to be easy to create these habits. So it's not all your fault, right? They've certainly assisted the habit creation process, but you can take this whole model and use it for yourself for good. And I want to give you an example of some ways that you can actually do this. Do you know the number one habit that will determine if you work out or not? There's been studies done on this to show what is the number one habit and the number one commonality trait among people who work out consistently versus people who don't work out consistently. And that habit is packing your gym bag the night before. Getting your clothes out, getting your stuff together, whatever it is you need, packing it the night before in advance. That could be your trigger. So again, going back to the habit creation process, packing your gym bag the night before is the trigger. It's something simple. Like, how much effort does it take to put together your gym clothes and your sneakers and your water bottle, whatever it is that you need, throw it in a gym bag, and then put that gym bag down by the front door, so that when you're walking out the door in the morning, you can grab that gym bag on your way out the door. That's the trigger. By having that trigger, you're going to put into action going to the gym. When you go to the gym consistently, take that action, you're going to feel better, right? It's going to reinforce the habit creation process to start that trigger again. So you want to feel better because you go to the gym, you get the rush of endorphins and the dopamine, and you feel good, and you're doing yourself some good. So you get that self-fulfillment. That's going to trigger, I'm going to pack my gym bag the night before. Vice versa, if you don't pack the gym bag the night before, it's so easy to procrastinate, because then you wake up in the morning and you slept in, and you're like, oh man, I'm busy, I'm rushed, I got to get out the door, and you're like, oh, screw it, I don't have time to get my gym bag together. I'll work out tomorrow. The number one habit that will determine if you work out or not: pack your gym bag the night before. Try it for yourself. As simple as it is, that is something that you can put into motion. And I tell you, I do that myself, right? I keep my gym bag packed and ready to go. Right? So it's just a matter of grab it and go. You could also apply this to other habits as well. Like, apply that to your nutrition. The number one habit that's going to determine if you eat healthy or not is meal prepping. People who prepare their food in advance, and they know in advance what they're going to eat, and they have a game plan, are much more likely to eat healthy than someone who has no game plan and is just winging it and waiting until you're starving and your belly is growling. And then you're like, what am I going to eat? Because in that hungry, low blood sugar, hangry state, you're more likely to give in to poor food choices. But if you have your food prepped in advance and you know what you're going to eat, and you have some templates and a guideline to follow here, like, hey, I'm going to have this for breakfast, I'm going to have this for lunch, I'm going to have this for dinner, and you have it prepped and you know in advance, or man, your odds of successfully following a healthy eating plan just skyrocket exponentially. And this is one of the key things. If you look at anybody who's in great shape, who works out consistently, who eats healthy, you can bet your bottom dollar that they probably imply this. They pack their gym bag the night before and they meal prep in advance. This is creating those triggers. That's their trigger. The meal prep in advance is the trigger. The action, hey, I'm going to eat this healthy meal that I prepared. The reward is you feel good. You start to improve your health and fitness. You're nourishing your body on the cellular level, and you feel good about yourself. That reinforces the trigger to do this the next time. And you can build this habit creation process for yourself, but you have to do it consciously. Sure, it's going to take a bit of motivation and willpower initially to create it, but once that becomes part of your routine, it's going to start to happen on autopilot, right? Just like the other habits that you have. Anytime you create a new habit, there's that little bit of friction initially. I mean, prime example, learning to drive a car. First time you got behind the wheel of a car, it was a stressful experience. So you had to do a lot of thinking and have people to help you and guide you and coach you and teach you how to do this. But once you've done it repetitively over and over again, now it just happens on autopilot, right? It's just a habit now. It's not a conscious effort. Same thing can happen with your positive habits that you're trying to create as well. Going to the gym, eating healthy, you can make that a positive part of your lifestyle by implementing this habit creation process. And this is the key to lasting success. You want to build those habits in sequential order and then anchor your beliefs to them so this can sustain your results long term. So you want to start building habits that reinforce that self-identity that we were talking about earlier. Getting around people who are healthy and fit and are doing the things that you want to do, creating habits that allow you to fit in with that social circle of people, and then just let that compound. And yes, it's going to take some work to do it initially, but once you start to get that momentum going, it's going to snowball. And before you know it, this is going to become a new way of life. And it's not going to be a question of like, am I going to work out or am I going to eat healthy? No, it's going to become autopilot. But it is going to take a bit of work to get that set up initially. But once it does, you can ride that wave of momentum for positive results. Next thing that I want to cover here now, secret number 2, how you can eat whatever you want within reason any day of the week and still achieve your goals. Now, this is especially important even over the holidays. We're entering in the danger zone. Like Thanksgiving is literally tomorrow in the United States. In Canada, we've already had our Thanksgiving last month, but same holiday, just a month earlier. All right, so we've already been through this. That's just Canadian folk. But for my U.S. friends, you're going to have it tomorrow. And you know what? You can still make it work. You can still make it work without setting yourself back. What is the best diet plan? The best diet is the one you can stick to. If your diet is something that you have to suffer out in the short term and you can't see yourself sticking to it as a lifestyle, then the results are only temporary. So the best diet is one that you can stick to. And the truth is, you're never going to eat clean foods in the perfect ratios of protein, carbs, and fat for the rest of your life, or live off meal replacement shakes or any other crazy fad diets. You must, and I mean must, create flexibility by building in your favorite foods into your day. Right? This isn't a nice to do. This is a must do. Turkey dinner, dressing, gravy, pumpkin pie, Christmas cookies. I'm going to show you how you can have it all and still make this work. So how do you do that? By creating a negative energy balance on the days that you choose. This right here is an example of someone who requires 2,000 calories a day to lose weight. Now, your individual calorie consumption and needs will vary. It may be higher, maybe lower. It depends on your size, your activity level, age, etc. But just for the purpose of our example, let's assume you need 2,000 calories a day to achieve weight loss, to put yourself into a calorie deficit for weight loss. Now, there's several ways of going about this. One is you can simply eat the same calories each day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, eat 2,000 calories every single day, eat the same damn thing every day. You'll average the week in 2,000 calories per day. You hit your goal. Now, some of you may prefer to eat more calories on some days and less on others. And this is the strategy I use most of the time personally, right? On my days where I'm extra active, I'm going to eat more to fuel that activity. And then on the days that I'm not active, on my rest days, I'm going to eat less. So I eat more, I burn more, I burn less, I eat less, right? That's the way it works, right? So on the days that I need those calories, I'm going to consume them. Now, others, you may prefer to eat more on the weekends, or you may prefer to eat more during the holidays, i.e. Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever holiday celebrations coming up. You say, you know what, I'm going to eat more on that day. And I'm sure most of you have fully intended that tomorrow, Thanksgiving, you're going to overindulge. You're going to eat until your heart's content, right? And that's fine. But in order to make that work, then you need to eat less on the other days so that you still average the week in a calorie deficit. On a typical week, for example, maybe like you want to go out on a Friday night and maybe have a pizza and beer with your buddies. It's the end of the week. We want to celebrate. I really enjoy grabbing a beer and having a slice of pizza with the boys. If that's you, then you can make that work. You just have to make sure that you're in a calorie deficit all through the rest of the days to make room for those extra calories on Friday night. Or maybe on Saturday night, you like to have a nice dinner and a glass of wine with your significant other. You can make that work. But again, make sure that you're in a calorie deficit to make room for those calories on the days that you're going to enjoy them. And this is a brilliant strategy now that we can incorporate into the holidays. So here we are now. It's November and the 27th. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Now, unless you've heard me talk about this strategy before and you've actually prepared all week long, you're probably going into Thanksgiving without having prepared in advance. But you know what? That's okay, right? It's okay to screw up from time to time. It's okay to give yourself an indulgence meal, as long as you forgive, correct, continue, and then start again for your very next meal. So tomorrow, I want you to fully enjoy Thanksgiving dinner, especially if you're going to be celebrating with friends and family. But as soon as that meal is over, get back on track for your very next meal, or at the very least, the very next day. So Friday morning should be back on track, and use that as your benchmark. And don't use this whole, well, it's Thanksgiving on Thursday, and well, I overdid it on Thursday. You know what? Diet starts on Monday. Yeah. Diet's going to start on Monday, because what's going to happen then? You're going to overeat on Friday. You're going to overeat on Saturday. Definitely overeat on Sunday, because hey, diet starts on Monday. I better get those cravings out of my system over the weekend, because Monday rolls around, I'm going to go on a diet again. And what ends up happening now is, instead of having one day of indulgence, i.e. Thanksgiving, you just had 4 days of indulgence. You had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so you can start your diet on Monday. But just think of all the damage and all the excess calories that you consumed over those 4 days. Whereas if you had just got back on track on Friday, and it doesn't have to be extreme, but I mean, like eating good quality foods. I'm talking like nourishing your body with protein and veggies and healthy fats and real foods in ideal portions for you and your body type and your activity level. Then that's going to minimize the damage versus just indulging in Thanksgiving and treats and desserts and whatever else, alcohol and fast food and you name it. So as soon as you indulge, like, hey, fully embrace Thanksgiving, enjoy it with friends and family, and totally celebrate it. But as soon as that day is over, start again. Forgive, correct, continue, start again for your very next meal or the very next day. Don't let it spiral out of control. And you can utilize this moving into December as well, because the big holidays, I mean, obviously we got Thanksgiving tomorrow, but we have Christmas Day. A lot of people have get-togethers on Christmas Eve as well. We've got New Year's Eve coming up. That's the big one, of course. And throughout the month, there's probably going to be some socials. There's going to be some Christmas parties or family get-togethers, or maybe your office party, your office Christmas party, or maybe if you're part of any groups or organizations, maybe they're going to have a party or a get-together. Throughout the month of December, That's kind of like a wild card, but chances are you're going to have a few parties scattered in there along with Christmas and New Year's. But you can still make this work by utilizing the strategy that I share with you. And I don't want you to utilize the strategy that most people are going to follow, which is this one. It's Christmas, screw the diet, and I'll start my diet in a month. Right? We already talked about that. Like, if you use the screw the diet, it's Christmas, you can set yourself back and cause a lot of damage over the next few weeks or several weeks. And then by the time you start your diet in a month, you're not starting from where you are now. You're starting 5+ pounds of body fat heavier. Whereas if you follow what I'm about to share with you here, you can actually get through the holiday season without gaining fat and actually even losing fat in the process. So here's how we do it. Throughout December, I want you to eat fewer calories and bump up your activity level in the days prior to your events. So let's just assume, on the calendar, hey, Friday, December 6th, we're going to have an office Christmas party. So in the days leading up there, purposely eat fewer calories. And it doesn't have to be crazy, but just like scale back the portions a little bit, maybe scale back on some of the carbohydrate and fat calories, but still keep that protein high. Still want to make sure that you're nourishing the body on the cellular level and filling up on good quality protein, but keep the carbs a bit lower. Maybe fill up on some fibrous vegetables, like green vegetables, to give you more eating satiation and fullness. So protein and veggies as your primary food options. I'm not saying zero carb or anything like that, but just less portions. Maybe cut your carb portions in half during that week. And that's going to create some room, a bit of a calorie deficit. And you can even create a bigger calorie deficit by bumping up your activity. Maybe that's just getting out for more walks. Like maybe on your lunch break at work, you're going to go outside and go for a walk around the block on your lunch break. Or when you go to the gym to work out, after your gym workout, hey, I'm going to do an extra 15 or 20 minutes of cardio on the treadmill before I leave. Just a little bit of extra activity to create a bigger calorie deficit, so that when that party rolls around on Friday or whatever day it happens to be, you've got room for it. You've made room for those extra calories so you can enjoy yourself and not be that guy who's on a diet and say, oh, I'm not allowed to eat anything, or I'm not allowed to do anything because I'm on a diet. Like, you don't even want to draw attention to it. Go to these parties and these socials and Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner and all that. Don't even mention a freaking diet to your friends and family, because if you say that you're on a diet, they're going to create pressure. They're saying, oh, come on, you only live once. What? It's the holidays. Don't be such a, stick in the mud. Here, have a piece of pie, have this, have a drink, have a slice of cake. They're going to pressure you. Whereas if you go in there under the radar and say nothing, you don't draw attention to yourself and nobody's going to try and pressure you. You can just kind of eat a little bit of whatever food is there, or as eat till you're comfortably full without having people peer pressuring you into eating. And that's a much better way to go about it. But you can utilize that strategy throughout all your events, and even up Christmas Day, same thing. In the days leading up, eat fewer calories, bump up the activity level. But the kicker again is, as soon as those parties and social events are over, start again for the very next meal or the very next day. Don't let it spiral out of control. Don't say, oh, screw it, screw the diet because it's Christmas and I'll start in a month. No, start again the very next day or the very next meal. And this is going to minimize the damage while still allowing you to enjoy those holiday meals guilt-free. The main thing you need to focus on is, as long as you end the week in a negative energy balance, you're going to succeed at losing fat. And we can even take that into a greater picture. As long as you end the month in a negative energy balance, you'll lose fat. As long as you end the year in a negative energy balance, you'll lose fat. It's the long-term averages. It's not just meal by meal or day by day. You need to think bigger. So if you're heavier now than you were last year this time, you obviously average the year in a surplus in order to be heavier than you were this time last year. Vice versa, if you're lighter now than you were this time last year, then you average the year in a deficit. Or if you're the same, you average the year in a maintenance. Like, it's the long-term averages. And this is what screws a lot of people up, is because they think, well, I tried dieting, but it didn't work for me. Or I went on a strict diet and it didn't work. Okay, well, how long did you do the diet for? Like a lot of times people may diet Monday to Friday, do pretty good, but then over the weekend they blow it. And like maybe you created a 500 calorie deficit Monday to Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday, you just, went to the all you could eat buffet, family dinners, pizza and beer or whatever, totally blown that calorie deficit out of the water over the weekend. So you're not actually averaging the week in a calorie deficit. You're probably averaging it in a maintenance or maybe even a surplus in some cases. And this is something that we need to look at. So you need to be aware of this. But as long as you average a negative energy balance, you will succeed at losing fat. And once you get this, and I mean get it internally, you'll be able to go from anxiety and frustration to predictable and consistent results every single week. And this is regardless of parties or holidays or family dinners or eating out in restaurants or Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. Once you get this, you'll be able to use this to your advantage, and it's going to be a game changer. Because again, there's a myth out there that you can only eat boring and bland foods to get results, the boiled chicken and broccoli. But the truth is, experts of nutrition and fitness know that you cannot achieve sustainable results long-term without enjoying the foods you love. By having these little indulgences, your Thanksgiving meal or your Christmas meal or whatever, or your restaurant or your pizza and a beer with the boys on the weekend, having that little indulgence, it takes the pressure off. And then it doesn't feel like you're on a diet. And then once you start again, like you can keep getting back on track by having these little mini indulgences more frequently. It makes it a lot easier, and you still get to enjoy life without feeling like you're on a diet. And that's the key. We don't want to feel like we're on a diet, but we just want to know our numbers so that we still average the week in a deficit. So by building your favorite foods into the equation and managing them weekly, this is how you can truly have your cake and eat it too. The next thing now, secret number 3, how to work out less and have your workouts fit around your schedule so you can build the lean body you want without feeling like a slave to the gym. So what's the best workout strategy? It's very similar to the best diet strategy. It's the one you'll follow consistently. And there's 2 things you need to know when it comes to designing a workout program. 1, you need to keep it simple and smart, the KISS principle. I know a lot of people heard KISS as keep it simple, stupid, but there's nothing stupid about this. I like to use keep it simple and smart. And 2, only incorporate the things that you like doing. Please stop with the ridiculous workout routines, right? You don't need to do CrossFit or P90X or go run for miles on end or do anything that causes pain or discomfort. And you certainly don't need to have some drill sergeant, personal trainer, or boot camp instructor yelling at you and making you feel like a piece of crap when you're in the gym exercising. Like, you don't have to do anything that you hate doing. There's a lot of forms of exercise out there, and you're allowed to do things that you actually enjoy. And this is something we actually discussed on one of our recent podcasts. Is a lot of people say, well, I don't like going to the gym, or I don't like exercising. Well, maybe you don't like that particular gym, or maybe you don't like that particular exercise, but there's a lot of different gyms and there's a lot of different exercises. That's almost like saying, I don't like food. Well, that's bullshit. We all know that. Everybody likes food, but maybe you don't like all foods, but there's certain foods that you certainly like. And there's probably certain foods that you don't like. Same when it comes to your exercise. When people say, like, I don't like working out, or I don't like the gym, I don't like that, you haven't found the right one. Right? It's just like saying, I don't like food. You haven't found the foods that you actually do enjoy, because they're out there, right? But bottom line here, do the things that you enjoy doing. And the key to making this work from a fat loss point of view is to let secret number 2 do the heavy lifting for you. And I mean that literally, because there's a myth out there that you must do hours of grueling exercise every day in order to lose weight. But the truth is, you only need to exercise a few times a week to get all the health, fitness, and muscle building and fat loss benefits. And sometimes less is even better. Because when you do too much exercise, it can create a negative impact on your body in a hormonal response. Like, it creates excess cortisol, it creates stress, it creates that overtraining. And very often when you over exercise, it can also cause your appetite to get out of control and cause you to want to eat more in order to compensate for all that extreme activity. But moderate exercise doesn't have those negative drawbacks. Like, you don't have the stress levels, you don't have the overtraining and the excess fatigue. So there's a fine line. Like, you can literally get too much exercise. And I find sometimes when I'm coaching people, especially like my one-on-one coaching students, especially people who are very enthusiastic and eager to get into the gym and eager to make progress, I'm like holding back the reins, like, oh, easy there, Tiger, right? You know, that's enough for today. You did enough, right? Hey, we set a new personal best. Let's call it quits. And a line that I like to use a lot of times when I'm coaching people is, we want to keep it under red line. We want to keep it below red line. Because a lot of people, especially when they get on a diet and exercise kick and they get, full of piss and vinegar, they want to push themselves. And, hey, I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to work out 2 hours a day. I'm going to, I'm going to get in shape super fast, and I'm going to, burn the candle at both ends. That doesn't last, right? You need to be able to sustain it, right? You can't go driving your car at red line, or you're going to blow the motor. Same thing with your fitness. Like, you can't go redlining it all the time and going in there and training at 100% max effort every single workout. You need to keep it below red line. You need to be good enough, but good enough consistently in order to get the results. And again, sometimes less is better. That should come as a relief for a lot of you, because you don't have to kill yourself in the gym. Nutrition is 80% of the equation, especially when it comes to fat loss, right? The whole saying is, you can't outtrain a poor diet, definitely applies here. The one thing that drives fat loss results more than anything is a calorie deficit, and workouts simply increase that deficit, but it's far easier to increase it by eating less than working out more. To put things in perspective, if you were to just try and burn a pound of body fat working out, it would take 7 solid hours of cardio on the elliptical cross trainer. It would take 6 hours of high intensity spin class. You'd have to walk for 35 miles at a fast pace to burn 1 measly pound of body fat. And the result of that level of exercise, burnout. Like, literally, that's red line. Like, you would be burnt out if you tried to do that, which leads back to the whole overeating, and then initiates the negative feedback loop that we talked about earlier, where, I tried that exercising stuff and, it didn't work for me, and I hate it, and I feel exhausted. Blah, poor me, I suck. And then that reinforces the negative belief that I suck and I can't do this. It's not that you suck or you can't do this, it's you're taking the wrong approach. We need to follow the right approach in order to get the results that you're looking for. So how should you work out? In a way that you enjoy and you can sustain. Again, it's all about managing the energy balance equation and creating positive headspace, and not just killing yourself in the gym to try and burn fat, right? You can't force it. You can only coax it along. And an analogy that I like to use here as well is, think of growing a garden. Like, think of building your body as like you are growing a garden. We can tend the soil, and plant the seeds, and then water them and make sure they get adequate sunlight. And we can tend to the garden, weed it and everything else, and do everything in our power to nurture it and help it along. But we can't force the plants out of the ground, right? No, nobody can. You can nurture it, but you can't force it. The same applies when it comes to your fitness and fat loss goals. You can do all these things to nurture the process along, but you cannot force it to happen faster than it's going to happen. You can't force the process. So what we're doing here, and the things that I'm sharing in this presentation, is ways for you to nurture the process along and then let it happen, versus trying to force it to happen and then getting frustrated because it's not happening fast enough. Rest assured, when you nurture it, and you nurture it with the right approach, the results will happen, as you've seen with the results of the past coaching students who've gone through this. You're not the guinea pig here. There's been a lot of people who've gone through this process before you and proved that it's worked. So just to quickly recap, the 3 key secrets that we covered today that's going to help you to achieve a lean body recomp over the holidays. Secret number 1, how to reprogram your psychology to make lasting success inevitable without conscious effort. Secret number 2, how to eat what you want within reason any day of the week and still achieve your goals. And secret number 3, how to work out less and have your workouts fit around your schedule so you can build the lean body you want without feeling like a slave to the gym. You can take these 3 strategies that we covered and put them into action on your own and get started ASAP. Like this right here is literally a proven action plan. And, for those of you who you came here, you wanted to see like, how can I actually get through the holiday season without setting myself back while still enjoying the holiday meals? Like you can literally take what you learned here now and start implementing it on your own and get the results you want. And if that's the case, then, hey, I wish you all the best with it. But some of you may want some extra help with this. Maybe you would like to actually have some help with implementing this into a step-by-step system for yourself. And if you would like to learn more about how we can actually do this together, then I invite you to stay on board with the workshop. And I'm going to just outline how we can actually lay this out into a step-by-step program for you, similar to how my coaching students have done, and get you set up on the right track. And just to let you know, here we are now, just a couple days before, we got Thanksgiving and then a couple days before Black Friday. We do have a Black Friday promo coming up at the end of the week. And if that's something you're interested in, then I can kind of give you a little bit of information about that as well. So if this is something that you would like to learn more about, like learn how you can actually put this together into a step-by-step action plan where we're working together to implement these 3 strategies that I just shared for you. If that's something you're interested in, just let me know. Type a yes into the chat window and we can take it from there. And then I'll also address any questions that you have as well, right? We'll cover that. Good stuff. All right. Lots of yeses coming through there. Okay. Well, so the Muscle After 40 Blueprint Program, this is the system that a lot of my coaching students have followed, right? And this is a system that I personally developed to get myself back in shape after 40. And it's been a good one because it's been a system that's allowed me to not only lose the weight and get in shape, but to sustain it as a lifestyle. And that's been such a liberating feeling to sustain a lean, healthy physique without feeling like I'm suffering it out on a diet. Right now, we've got a couple different options. First option is you can go back to life as usual. You can go back to pretending that everything's okay on the outside, but deep down hating the way you look and feel on the inside. You can go back to being stuck in a rut as a busy guy with a desire to change, but no clarity on how to actually make it work. You can say, you know what? Thanks, Lee, but I think I'd like to go back to doing what I was before, being stuck in a rut, going nowhere, and try and figure this out on my own. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that, but there is another option. And option 2, you can make this a defining moment. You can say, I've had enough. I'm sick of being fat and out of shape. I'm sick of constantly starting over and never getting anywhere. It's time to win. The truth is, you ultimately have control over the things you do. So why not be one of our next success stories by taking control over your life, just like our previous coaching students did? Like them, you can say, I want to do this with you because you've done it for yourself and for hundreds of others, and I know you can do it for me too. Don't let this just be another moment where you learn something and then walk away from it, never fully utilizing it, never fully grasping its power to take you to where you want to go. There is a better and a faster way. You can get coaching from someone who has a proven roadmap to follow, who practices what they preach, and is helping other guys to do the same. If you want to have proven results, I have something very special for you, and there's absolutely no pressure whatsoever for you to take advantage of it. But I feel it's my job to put it in front of you. It's your job whether you take it or not. Because over the next week, I've personally set aside some time to talk to you to see if we can help you further. We'll talk for roughly 45 minutes and map out a realistic action plan for you, how you can reach your goals to optimize your nutrition and your lifestyle habits, and use the systems that we talked about today to accelerate, amplify, and sustain your results. If you want to build this out together, hands-on, and I'm positive that I can help you to get the physique you want, then I may invite you to become one of our VIP coaching students, but there's absolutely no guarantee that I'll make that invitation. And of course, there's no pressure to do anything if I do. This is totally up to you. I'm not here to try and force somebody to do something they don't want to do. I'm only trying to help people who want to help themselves. Honestly, this could be the most transformational 45 minutes you spend on your health, fitness, and life this entire year. But you must be committed to change. I can help you to reprogram your identity, master your nutrition and your workouts, but you must be willing to change and meet me halfway. I can show you the way, but I can't do the work for you, right? That's up to you. You have to truly want this, because I find most guys, they want the reward, but they're not willing to put in the sacrifice. They're not willing to put in the effort. I mean, we can greatly accelerate your progress, but you must be committed to putting in the work or don't even bother. And this system works best for those who want to lose 20, 30, or even 50 pounds or more in 2025. This is not for people who want to stay the same. It works for those who are struggling to create a sustainable approach to nutrition and exercise that they actually enjoy. It's for guys who often feel disgusted with the way they look and feel, but know they don't want to keep on living this way anymore. And it's for those of you who want to follow a proven system, who respect process and want to have some skin in the game and are willing to invest in themselves in order to get permanent life-changing results. If this is you, here's what you do next. You hit the link that's on the screen right now. You select your call time, complete the application form, and show up with a call. So I have a link in my calendar page. It's leehayward.com/help. But this will open up my calendar page where you can select a call time to have a chat with me over the next week. So like I have spots available for tomorrow, Friday, over the weekend. Go in there and choose a time that works for you. And we'll sit down and basically have a complimentary coaching call where we'll discuss you, your situation, your available exercise equipment, your food likes and dislikes, what it is you're trying to achieve, what are the challenges that you're going through, what are some things that you've tried in the past that either worked or haven't worked, and we'll see if we can optimize a plan that's customized for you and your situation. And if I feel that it's a good fit and that I can help you to achieve your goals, then I may invite you to come on board and join our VIP coaching program with the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. And so if we were to work together, this is what would happen. We'd work one-to-one to create the elements we talked about today and several more that we didn't have time to mention. I mean, it's impossible for me to go through everything that I know about building a sustainable and personalized fitness and fat loss transformation in a 2-hour webinar. So obviously there's more to talk about if we get on a call. And if you're someone that I really know I can help for sure, then we'll talk about that. And if you're not, I'll give you some ideas and clarity and recommend some outside resources that will help you to get the results you want in your health and fitness. And I'll just let you know, I set the bar high and I expect the best from my personal coaching students. I mean, there's nothing I want more than to see my students succeed. So I'll expect you, if you come on board, to lose fat, to build lean muscle, and sustain your results for the rest of your life. Like, I'm looking to create those before and after success stories. That's what I'm doing this for. Like, I'm not just looking to take on another coaching student for the sake of another student. I want to add to the list of before and after success stories and see that transformation. I want you to become an example of health and fitness for your friends and family. So not only are you proud of your results and feeling good about yourself, but then the people in your family, your friends and your coworkers and your children and everybody else, they're seeing your transformation and you're helping to inspire them. And then ultimately create a legacy of health and fitness for your family to follow. That's what this is all about. It's about creating this positive wave of momentum. So by you getting in your best shape, you're then indirectly, you're going to help to inspire others to take action and get in their best shape and help bring up the average of those 5 people that are in your circle. You become the example for them and then lead your family, create a legacy of health and fitness. So your children see dad as a fit and healthy, real world role model, like be their real world superhero. I mean, that's my main vision. I got to be honest, like back in the day when I was competing in bodybuilding, okay, competition was my main drive. But now, I mean, I'm not looking to get on a competition stage or anything like that, but I want to set a positive example for my son. Like my son, Harvey, he's my inspiration. And I don't want him growing up with a fat, out of shape dad and then thinking that it's okay to let himself get fat and out of shape and then just continue that spiral down the road. I want him to look at his dad as a real life role model of health and fitness and say, you know what, dad's in shape, dad's strong. I want that, because then he's going to be inspired and take the actions. And I'm very fortunate that I came from that background. I mean, my father was the one who got me started working out at the age of 12. Right? He had a home gym and, you know, he wasn't a bodybuilder, but he kept himself in shape. Like he exercised, he lifted weights, he ran. I mean, he was very physically active. He wasn't an athlete or anything like that, but still, he was a fit, strong dad. And that had a big impact on me. And that set me on the path to fitness from a young age. And I want to do the same thing for my son, Harvey. And hopefully I want you to do the same thing for your family. Like, lead them by example so you can create that legacy of health and fitness. Right? I mean, that's what this is all about. So it's easy to use excitement to get started and feel good in the moment, but to actually keep that momentum moving forward and achieve lasting results is hard. So again, if you would like to do this together and you'd like some help, right, to map out a realistic action plan that's right for you, then again, hit the link on the screen right now or click on that apply now button. So one thing that a lot of people are probably wondering, this is a common question, right, what would it cost to do this all on my own? And trying to master this on your own could easily take 10 years or more of your life. And even then, you'll probably not figure it all out. I mean, you'll mostly run out of time, energy, and lose your willpower and get overwhelmed if you haven't already done so by trying this and trying that, and then doing a million different things that you just don't know will work or not through trial and error. Like, trial and error is the slow and expensive way to learn something. I mean, it's literally taken me a lifetime of study and application, along with investing over $75,000 of my own money in self-education and coaching hundreds of people in person, as well as indirectly thousands more online, to streamline and simplify this system. So again, if you want to go through this whole process together and build this out hands-on, book in for that coaching call. I mean, it's a complimentary call. There's no charge for this. We can sit down, discuss your situation, and see if we can map out a realistic action plan. And my goal is to help you become one of these before and after success stories. Like, that's my vision for you, as it is for everybody who goes through the whole Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. You know, I'm not just doing this to take on another student for the sake of another student. I mean, I want to add to our list of success stories so that you're going through this journey, you're seeing the results, you're proud of your accomplishments and feeling good about yourself. And then in turn, you're helping to inspire your friends and family. And then we could share your results with others and just create that win-win situation. That's the goal here. That's the vision. Well, guys, again, hopefully you found this helpful. And again, if you have any questions or you want to reach out to me, feel free to send me an email, or again, book in for a coaching call. That'd be the easiest way. But if you want to even send me an email or a private message through Facebook, you can certainly do that as well. And we can chat through email or messenger, and we'll keep that conversation going. So thanks again for joining in, and congratulations to those of you who booked in for a coaching call already. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow and over the next couple days. All right, guys, have yourself a good one. Take care. Over and out.